It's time to show you how to create a electrical plan. So if you are in your first floor view, you may have a bunch of annotations and all sorts of stuff in here, and we don't really always want to see all that kind of stuff. So if you're in your first floor view here, if you right click this, you can go to duplicate view and just click duplicate. And what it does is it creates something without any of the annotations. Now, I have a few section views in mind, so if you have those and you don't want to show those, you can right-click one of these. If you right-click the line on that section view, and you can hide and view the category, and it will hide all of those. So this looks like a really good screenshot for my first floor. So I'm going to Shift Windows S this, and this for my electrical plan. Let's just get the whole thing in there. And then I'm going to go over to my Google Drive, and I'm going to create a new Google drawing. And I'm just going to do a Control V to paste that in there. So I have my screenshot in here. Let me make this kind of fill that space up right there. And I'm going to call this my residential plan, or electrical plan, sorry. And the next thing that we need to do is I want to be able to see this a little bit closer. So I'm just going to go to View, and I'm going to go to my zoom, and I'm going to go to 200%. I can see it a little bit better. And let's finally take a look at what in the world we're supposed to do for this assignment. So it says you're going to open up that image. So I have that from my screenshot. I need to draw the electrical plan for my kitchen and a bedroom or a bathroom. So kitchen is a must. Bedroom or bathroom is your choice, but you're going to have two electrical plans done. Some of you may end up doing the entire house. As you can see, this example here is the entire house. So let me explain a little bit about how this thing works. So right now, if we look over in this bedroom, we have these little items here. These things are called receptacles, or in other words, you could call them outlets. I'm going to pull up the electrical systems lesson here. This shows you the electrical symbol legend. So you can see here, it's called a standard outlet. I believe Project Lead the Way calls them receptacles a lot, so I'm going to call them a receptacle, even though here it says an outlet, just so you can kind of get used to both of them. So right now we have these receptacles right here, and this S just stands for a switch that goes to the fan. And you can see, or it's actually the light, and the SF is the switch that goes to the fan. That's right here. So according to code, it says it's a 612 rule for receptacles or outlets. You can have receptacles in a room so that no point is over 6 feet from an outlet. That means you can be 12 feet from this one to this one, and if you're in the middle, you're at least or minimum of 6 feet away from each receptacle. So that's what should help you figure out how many receptacles you need along a wall, and you can do that roughly, but that is part of the electrical code. So make sure that if you do a bedroom, that is what you end up doing. If you put a fan and a light in, you'll end up having a couple switches that tie in like this. If you're doing bathrooms, you probably will have a switch for a bathroom fan and then a switch for the light. You're also going to have a receptacle that's GFCI, and if you look over here, you'll see that here, this is a GFCI outlet or receptacle, and that just has the 4 letters GFCI on it. Let's take a look at these other 2 outlets that we might see in our example, and they would maybe occur in the kitchen. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. If I hold down the control key and scroll up on my mouse, that allows me to zoom. You can see that there are 3 lines for the receptacle for the range and the dryer. Those are the 2 special appliances in your house that you need to really be aware of. And those are 220 volt outlets. They're not 110. 110 volt is your standard receptacle or outlet that you have that plugs in your computer. But these 220, they are the outlets, the receptacles look a lot different. They're bulkier, and they allow double the voltage for those super high electric requirements of the dryer and the range or the oven. So make sure that you have those symbols if you are showing those 2 items. It's very important that you do that. Now, these receptacles here in the kitchen, we have some they look like countertop receptacles, and they have to be GFCI because there's a water source next to it. But then once we get away from that, you can see they are not. Same thing is true for the bathroom. You have a GFCI here for this bathroom and a GFCI here for this bathroom. And so when we do these, we just got to make sure that we have them noted as GFCI for the wet areas. You also need to have a receptacle for a refrigerator because you're going to have one there. And if you have a dishwasher, you would need to actually put a second one right next to this that is really indicated for the dishwasher. It's going to be down below. Oftentimes you'll place it right where the sink is because the receptacle for the dishwasher is usually underneath the sink. So if you have a dishwasher, you'll add one for under the sink. So let's go ahead and show you how to do those things. Oh, one other thing we need to take a look at is the three-way switch. I want you to think about your kitchen. Kitchen, usually there's a lot of lights. This really isn't the best illustration for a kitchen. Usually we have a lot of lights in the kitchen, and oftentimes we have more than one way of turning them on and off. So if you notice, this particular light right here has a switch here, which is an S3. That's called a three-way switch. Three-way switch means it goes switch, light, and then switch. If you have multiple lights, it would go switch, light, 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 and then down to switch. And that would allow you to turn those lights on and off from two locations. So you do need to have at least one set of three-way switches somewhere. And usually you would have those in your kitchen. You can see here they're also in the hallway, front and back of the hallway. You'll always have them at top and bottom of steps, which we don't have in our houses. You know, the living room here, again, this is a very rudimentary design because there's only one light. Usually you're going to have more than one light in many of these rooms, although bedrooms usually only do have one light. So let's go to our drawing and let's see if we can figure this out. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit on this so I can see that a little bit more easily. And rather than drawing all these symbols, we can make this a little bit faster by just doing a Shift Windows S, and I can do a screenshot of this standard light. If I make that screenshot small enough, I don't get a bunch of that white behind that in that background, and it should show up pretty nice. So let's go back to my electrical plan. If I do a Control V on here, let's zoom out a little bit, and you can see there it is. So I have a light right here. Now again, the problem with this is I screenshot that a little too big, so I can kind of shrink this up by moving these black bars in just a hair. And then if it's too large, I can actually shrink that down. So that's a decent size for this light. So maybe I want to have a light here, and I'm holding the Control key down as I click and drag. And you can see it lines those up really nice. I have a nice grid right here. So I'm going to put 4 of these recessed lights into my kitchen here. I'm going to want to have a switch right near the door here to come into the kitchen. And I may also want to have a switch right over here as I was sort of like leaving this dining room, maybe going to the living room or into the bedrooms here. So I'm going to want to put 2 switches in there. So let's go to our key, and that means that I'm going to have a three-way switch. So I'm going to screenshot my three-way switch, and I'll try to get this one a little tighter. There we go. And let's Control V to paste that. Let's find out where it did it. Looks like it's always putting it at the top. Zoom in a little bit more. Again, holding the Control key down while you scroll allows you to do that a lot quicker. So now I can put one right there, and I'm going to hold the Control key down, and that copies one for me, and I'm going to place one right here. So I have my switches for these lights. The last thing I need to do is I need to draw in the electrical lines. So electrical lines are always drawn using curved lines to show that they're electrical lines. So we're going to click it from, let's start on this switch right here. I'm going to click here, and I want to go to this light first, but I can't be a straight line. So I'm going to click halfway, and then I'm going to double click to that line. You can see that that makes it a curved line. Next, I click from here and then out and double click. And then we go from this light, double click, this light, and double click. And then our last one, and double click. Now we do need to do one other adjustment with this. So I have this line. I'm going to hold down Control. It's kind of my magic key for all of these things. And I'm going to select all of those lines. Now these lines need to be special lines. So they have to be dashed lines, and we're going to add a little color to this just to make it a little easier to see. I'll make mine purple. There we go. So I have these purple dashed lines. Purple's not really the easiest to see. Pick a color we can see easy. Dashed lines will show electrical lines in here, whereas the solid ones are going to show your plumbing. So when you do electrical plans, oftentimes you see them as dashed lines. You can see them right here. Now these are black dashed lines, which is great. But the problem is with mine, I have this floor here, so it may be a little harder to see in black. So right here, I have a very, very well done kitchen lighting plan. I have not done the dining room. That would be something that I could also do. I could make another maybe three-way switch here, and then a couple lights here for the dining room. I also am going to need to put in some receptacles. So let's get the receptacles. And if I Shift Windows S, we do a GFCI because I'm going to do them over my counter. And paste that one in there. Let's drag it down and shrink it. And then I'm going to place one here I'm going to place this and rotate this, and so on and so on. So as you place these around your countertops, think about your own kitchen and how often you have receptacles along countertops to plug in appliances like toasters and blenders and those kind of things. I would also need to add a receptacle right where the sink is to indicate that I have one for my dishwasher and one for my refrigerator. I would need to have a 220 receptacle for my range. I also could put one in here for my dryer if I wanted to add one for that. You'd have a standard 110 for your washer. If I chose to do a bedroom, I could put in a fan. You can see I have the fan symbol right here, so we could do that one. This is a recessed fan. That would be like a bathroom fan, that little box fan there. You have a chandelier also. Here's one other unique item, the last one I want to talk about, and then I'll let you finish this up. It's this quad outlet. A quad outlet is something that we actually have in our engineering room. There are just two sets of outlets right next to each other. So it ends up being four receptacles or four outlets next to each other. This is sort of a rare thing in a house. You don't really see this very often. You probably don't have one of these in your house, but if you look around the engineering room, you probably will see some quad outlets just for areas that need to have a lot of things plugged in. So that's that symbol. That's something that you might see later on, potentially in the Project Lead the Way Find. I just want to make sure that you're aware of what that is. Once you've finished your complete kitchen electrical diagram, and you finished maybe a bathroom or a bedroom, if it's visible and clear enough, then you can take this image, and let me move that up there. I can see a little bit more on it, and I could take this entire image and I could screenshot this, and then I would place it directly into, into my assignment. I'm going to delete this image here and just paste that in there. So as long as it's clear enough what the electrical plan is, if I make that a little bigger, I can see it better, then that's okay to do the entire house. It would be nice to be able to see all of them in one shot. So go ahead and do that if you are able to view it, if your text is clean enough. And of course, mine wasn't done because I didn't add the receptacles for some of these items. So make sure that you have all the required pieces in there, and go ahead and use this again as your guideline. And let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.